In this week's video, we're going to talk about how to speed paint a Warhammer army and some tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way that might be helpful to you. Hey everybody, my name is Ronald, and if you have purchased or acquired or 3D printed a Warhammer army, you might be trying to figure out what you're going to do with it. Now, as someone who just likes to play casual games whenever he can, there's nothing wrong with playing with your gray plastic miniatures. You can do that. That's fine. But there's something that's really fun about playing with an army that's got some paint on it. And so if you're struggling with what to do and how to really get to that part where you get your army on the table and you're ready for it, well, here are a couple tips. Number one, choose yourself an army. Get an army that you think would be exciting and that you would be excited to paint. I recently got into Blessed Sisters from One Page Rules. I think they're a really cool army. They look phenomenal, and I decided that I was going to not only get that army, but also I wanted to speed paint it. I wanted to have an army that was on the table, ready to play, and that would, let's be real, look good for a YouTube video. So once you've chosen your army, simplify a color scheme. Know that the more colors you decide to add on to any type of color scheme, the more difficult it's going to be. Now, it's really easy to find a color scheme that you like. Just Google your army and color scheme, and you'll find a whole bunch of different color schemes that either other people have put together or other people have painted, or somebody has taken and made up some mock images of them. You'll find one that works for you. But here's my best tip for that. Get one color that's going to be your main color of your army. Dark blue was what I went for with my sisters. And then I decided, okay, what goes well with dark blue? Well, red, and not white, but like ivory. I decided those three colors were going to be my main colors. And then I decided to do something a little different than what I normally do and make all of my weapons light gray. And so that was my three colors that I'm going to paint. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then you might determine and decide what colors you would put on to your heroes for the extra flair. For me, for heroes and vehicles, they get a little bit of gold just so that I can see what they look like. And to put all that together, it's a really simple color scheme, and it works out really well with my Blessed Sisters. Next, you want to commit to some hobby time. You can't get over the fact that painting an army is just going to take some time. And if you need just a little bit of push for that, maybe consider subscribing to my Patreon. It's a really casual Nerd War Gaming Patreon where if you join at the lowest level, we try to hobby once a week. It's real chill. You get to vote on what type of hobbying we do, whether it be painting or crafting or putting things together or modeling. You'll get to vote on what it's going to be that week. And it's going to be a really fun time for you and for me, because I'll answer any questions that you might have about hobbying or painting or life. I'll just answer away. And if you want to step up and subscribe to that next level, then you would get one scenario for you and your buddies to play once a month, a sci-fi or a fantasy scenario, to just add some flavor into your games and make some things some fun. If you wanted to subscribe to that, you go to patreon.com/acceptablyepic or look in the video link down below. I'd really appreciate it. It'd be super helpful. All right, so you've got your army and you have decided on a color scheme and you have committed yourself to some hobby time. Good thing to do, rule of thumb with that, is just plan to do it at certain intervals and stick with it. Maybe you decide, okay, I'm going to paint for 30 minutes each night. You won't paint an entire army in 30 minutes, but those 30-minute chunks really do add up over time. Or if you just decide, hey, this weekend, I'm painting. That's what I'm going to do. Clear that with your family and have a blast. And then next, choose your hobby hack. Here's what I mean by that. There are lots of tips and tricks that would help you get an army painted faster. For example, you might decide that it's time to learn the airbrush. I recently started experimenting with what an airbrush was, and to be honest, I was real scared about it. It freaked me out for some reason. But doing an airbrush showed me that I could get a lot of models painted really quickly and get to that next step of doing the detail work a lot faster. Or maybe an airbrush freaks you out, so I maybe try contrast paints. In fact, I watched a really cool video by Morty and Glory. He's a Warhammer 40k creator most of the time, but what caught my eyes, he was painting some Human Empire. And in this video right here, he shows how he paints up an army guy in about 15 minutes, which if you're spending 30 minutes a night painting an army, well, 15 minutes is 2 guys, which could be really cool. Or maybe you're deciding that you want to try dry brushing, and you're going to be using dry brushing in a way to get your models on the table better. Or maybe you're just going to use a bottle of spray paint. If you don't like airbrushing, a spray paint bottle is actually a great way to get the majority color on your minis. That's actually the hobby hack that I use most of all. I'm evolving and I'm growing in that sense, but if you look at my channel and see the different armies that I've painted, my high elf fleets start with pink. My dwarf guilds start with this really cool greenish blue color hue that I really think is great. But all it is those models just get spray painted. Not base coated and then spray painted, just spray painted. That's my first base coat. And that's fine. Figure out what works best for you, the method you want to use, and then stick to it, at least just for that army. My Blessed Sisters got a spray paint of dark blue. Honestly, it kind of freaked me out a little bit when I did it because it was really dark. Well, then I decided everybody gets a really heavy dry brush of light blue to bring up some details again. And then I put the base coat on everyone, and then I did the really neat tactic of dipping. Now, maybe that idea freaks you out a little bit, but it's basically Nuln Oil to the extreme, right? I actually took some stain, and I take my entire mini in these with a pliers and then dunk them down into the stain and then vigorously shake them until the stain is gone and then set them off to the side and do that over and over and over again. It's not pretty, but it brings out a level of detail on my minis really quickly that I'm happy with. And that's another thing, is get to a level that you're happy with. My minis aren't going to win any type of competition, and they don't care. I'm having fun. But even all of that said, remember, a painted army isn't finished. It doesn't ever have to be totally finished to be fun for you. It can just be done for now. In fact, I saw a really great video from Dinjon, who had an army that he, as a challenge, painted in a week. It's right here. You can go check that video out as well. I thought it was really cool because he went and he challenged himself and he did this entire army, and then later came back to that same army in this video and added some detail to it that I thought was really, really cool. And I thought it was neat that a creator would say, hey, I painted this army. I wasn't too particularly happy about it, so I made it better. Same goes for you. Just because you've got that army finished and on the table doesn't mean it has to be finished. You can come back and paint more on it later. So maybe get your spray paint in and then do 2 colors of your army and think, okay, this is good for now. I'll add to it as I get there. Really, I just hope you're having fun painting your army. I know I'm having a blast with the armies that I've been painting because I'm remembering that a painted army isn't a finished army. And in all of that, playing one-page rules has inspired me to paint more because I'm really enjoying this thing where I get to paint armies and play with them on the table. If you're enjoying painting and you're trying to think of what might inspire you to play, maybe it's trying out a new wargaming system. I really encourage you to try One Page Rules. Check them out down in the description below. Some really great links are there so that you can get started, and maybe getting a new war game system to play with might be the thing that helps you get that army painted and over the finish line. Hey, I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope you're enjoying the hobby, because this is just supposed to be a lot of fun. I hope you're having fun, because I know I am. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've got any great tips on how to speed paint an army, put it down in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel and are just finding me out, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button down below. It does a lot of help for me to get more people looking at and enjoying this channel. Hey, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a great week, and we'll see you next time.